Wednesday, and we're back with another episode of the podcast. Thank you so much for liking, subscribing, following, commenting, and sharing. Oh my God, I should have used a different verb tense. Anyways, we are every Wednesday, and hope you like this episode. Thank you.
Hello, it's me, Julie Kim. Welcome to Bothered, my little podcast about being bothered. Every week I share short stories.
Living like this, I might lose it.
They're mostly real situations that have happened to me. You wouldn't believe some of them, or maybe you would. Maybe you can relate.
Living like this, I might lose it.
Have you ever felt unwelcome at a restaurant or other dining establishment, especially with a small child? And even if you don't have a small child, maybe you have no idea that this sort of thing happens. But there is a thing that happens where people with small children are definitely discriminated against. My husband and I have always wanted to maintain our lifestyle somewhat. And our lifestyle includes like eating food that we like and going out to restaurants when we can to eat that food. We have met some people who never have gone out with their small babies or small children at restaurants because they're afraid of being judged, or it's too messy, or it's too stressful for them. But it's been something that we've like always wanted to do. And this kind of thing has happened a few times, enough that I wanted to make an episode out of it. And the main story I'll tell you about happened very close to where I live, actually, in Vancouver, BC, Canada. So I went to a restaurant which had like a sort of a lounge or wine bar part of it. I went with my cousin who was visiting from out of the city, and my child, which at the time I think was under 1 year old. So she was still sitting in a high chair at the time. So I go up to this maitre d' and I say, we'd like a table for 3, please. Or maybe a table for 2 and a high chair. And I showed up with my small child in probably like a carrier, and my cousin had not yet arrived. And I said, we'd love to sit here at this table by the window. And he said, oh yeah, we like to reserve this space for over 19. And I said, oh, is it because of like alcohol? And he said, yeah. And I said, oh, is it like a law that you can only have adults over here? Is this like a no children area? He's like, well, we like to make it like that. And then I was like, what do you mean? Do you just like prefer to have adults here? And he said, yeah, this is just like the ambiance that we want to have, just an adult space. So I said, so it's not a licensing issue and it's not anything having to do with any law? He goes, no. I said, well, then we would like to sit over here. And then I honestly thought his spirit left him, and he heaved the giantest sigh ever, and he goes, all right then. And then he grabbed some menus and he flopped his body and he brought me over there. And it kind of reminded me of like Jim Carrey when he's like, alrighty then. Except when Jim Carrey does it, it's like very friendly and it's very funny. And I love Jim Carrey. But this guy was just kind of like a little bitch who took it upon himself to make up a rule, not even a rule, a preference that he had, or maybe he was talking on behalf of the establishment. This is all smelling an awful lot like discrimination, definitely hardcore capital D discrimination. All the language he was using was just very, very suggestive, and I didn't like it at all. I don't like being told where I can or cannot sit, because in this instance, it feels kind of definitely like a bias. And so I did take it kind of far, because that's what I like to do. I wasn't rude at all, but I was like, so if there is nothing actually keeping us from sitting there, I would like to sit there. And let me say that it was much cooler over there, okay? And please, I'm an adult and I needed a wine and I wanted to have a break and I wanted to sit somewhere with my cousin with a nicer view and a nicer ambiance than their much more lame restaurant area, which I had actually frequented a number of times. I just wanted to not be discriminated against. And also, what is the big deal of putting a small child in an area that you want to keep for adults because you think that it makes it a cooler area without any support of the law? I mean, everybody else over there, sure, was an adult. Was my baby ruining anybody's time? She wasn't being loud. She couldn't run around or anything very distracting because she was in a baby chair. And I kind of get it, right? Like the presence of a baby chair definitely takes away from the nightlife vibe. But it was early evening in the summer and it wasn't even dark out. There was no loud music. There was nothing like that. They just wanted to make it an adult-only space, and it was wrong. So I did not let him win at all. I didn't. That makes me someone who stands up for her rights, I guess. And I have to say that kind of stands out because I had to go back and forth a number of times. But it also has made me realize just how many times we've actually been discriminated against. So one time we were at another restaurant, a chain restaurant. That's not a bad restaurant, but it's kind of like, a place where you would get a $35 steak. So not a $60 steak, but a $35 steak, and a happy hour drink would be maybe $15. So not cheap at all. Okay. It takes effort and it takes money to go out. And if we're going to go out, we want to be in a nice area. So many times that we've gone out, including this time to this chain restaurant, we noticed that we would get seated at a very bad table. And I'm not talking about necessarily beside the bathroom or beside a speaker, but by a bad table, I mean far away from everybody else. One time we went to this restaurant and it was a chain restaurant. And we walked in, we asked for our table for 3, me and my husband and the child. They didn't even ask inside or outside. They sat us on the balcony. We were the only ones on the balcony and they sat us next to a bush, everybody. It was not even a manicured bush. They just seated us beside a bush. I don't know if they wanted us to be beside something that absorbs sound, assuming that we're going to go in there and be obnoxious. And I realized the irony of yelling this in the podcast and saying that we wouldn't be obnoxious, but we're not overall obnoxious diners. They just sat us at this lame table away from everyone else and everything else, including TVs where we would watch, part of a game or something like that, just to sit outside without even establishing that we wanted to sit outside to keep us far away from everyone else. There was a time that this happened to us where I actually said, "Did you seat us here because we have a child? Did you seat us in a worse area because we have a child?" And of course, the hostess said, No. We just assumed you wanted some privacy. We have privacy, ma'am. We have privacy all the time at home where we live together. We go out to be out and to see people. I want some background noise. Do you know what I mean? I want to hum. I want to hear some music. I want to see some TV action. And I'm a comedian. I want to see people. I want to watch an awkward first date. I want to talk to my husband about why that couple over there is not talking. And I want to see a breakup, for God's sakes. I want to see awkward situations and coworkers just hanging out when they otherwise would never hang out. I want all of that. Okay. I don't want to sit in a corner with my family by myself. We fucking live together. We came out to be together, but not entirely together. So I've been calling this out every time. And let me tell you, it's happened a lot. One time we went out to a place that we actually like a lot and we go to a lot. So I will not name names, but we went out to this kind of brewery area and we noticed that we got seated in this area where there were 10 other families with small children. So now we're at a fucking McDonald's playland. I don't want to sit around other children. I want you to disperse us fairly evenly across the restaurant like we're actual people. I don't want a fucking fringe area of a restaurant that's excessively loud and obnoxious. I don't want anyone else's ill-mannered kid running around and bumping into my kid or talking to my child. And now we have to talk to you guys. Just treat us like normal fucking people. But honestly, this one time we were seated at this brewery, it looked like we were at a children's party because altogether, I think there were, again, 10 families, but probably 40 children. Do you know how loud 40 children are in one area of a restaurant? It was obnoxious. And then, of course, we get noticed more. Not that I care, okay? I do not bend to dirty looks from people, especially old men and ladies looking over with their special judgy eyes and their mannerisms of just shaking their heads and thinking about what they would have done in their day. I hate those people the most, okay? I don't mind a dirty look. I will head on confront a dirty look. I will nudge my child to be louder if you ever give my kid a dirty look for like being a normal kid and making a normal amount of noise. We're pretty good at eating out. Like we'll bring an iPad every time. We know when to bring it out and we don't put it on loud, on speakerphone. We don't have it there the whole time. If we did, it would be our business. We don't let our kid yell or scream or throw things. I mean, has that happened? Sometimes yes, and some days are better than others, but whatever, okay? We go anywhere with a kids menu, it is understood that kids are welcome. But let me take it back to what I was saying before. We've been discriminated against, and let me tell you what I've done. I've actually done this. I love a social experiment. My husband used to hate when I did this because it would be very awkward for him. But we learned that in many cases we were being discriminated against. There was one time where we went out to eat at a restaurant and I told my husband to hold back, to stay back with our child, just around the wall, around the corner, or maybe he... I let him like pay for parking. I said, I'm going to go ask for the table. So I did this thing where I went up to the hostess and I said, table for 3, please. And I didn't say like there was a child. And they don't normally ask. Like if they see your child and it's like a certain size, they'll be like, do you need a kid's menu? Or do you want some crayons? Or do you need a high chair or a booster chair? Which are all great questions, but I know what they're really thinking. And they're thinking, oh, do you want us to seat you in the shitty section where nobody can see you and your dirty little secrets and your noise can't reach the other patrons that we respect like normal people? No. In this case, she didn't even ask if we wanted anything because I just said 3 people, which is true. Our child is a person and so are we. We are people. We are people who deserve respect. So she took 3 adult menus and she brought me to the table. And I said, oh, they're coming. And I just said it very broadly. They are coming. And I got seated at a very nice table, like in the middle of the restaurant. And then my husband and the child came and we sat at a very nice table. And I don't want to lie or overemphasize. It would be a great story to say, oh, and that hostess afterwards looked at me like I had betrayed her. No, it was nothing like that. But I baited and switched a little bit, I guess. I mean, all I did was advocate for myself in a situation where I just wanted no discrimination. So I think what I did was just fine. We sat in the middle of that restaurant and caused very little fuss, and we had a nice meal with nice ambiance, the kind of ambiance that 3 normal people deserve. When I go out without my child, and I do, I'm on the road, I go to restaurants and bars by myself, I don't mind a baby around me. I don't mind a little bit of baby noise. The one thing that I do actually mind, and I don't impose this on other people, is people expecting me to interact with their baby. Babies are cute. They're there. They're, exploring. They're staring sometimes, which I don't really mind. Maybe, they've heard of me. I think the problem is when people expect you to indulge their children. Your child walking up to me or turning around and like saying hi. I'll wave one fucking time, okay? But I'm not spending all of my time interacting with your child or, playing peekaboo for like an hour. I've seen people do that. I mean, good for you if you don't have anything else to do. I want to be alone at a restaurant. I would never let my child turn around and play peekaboo for an hour with another person at a restaurant who's just trying to have fun. Okay. Anyways, I'm sorry I got so emotional in this one. And another thing about dining out with small children, I think that a lot of people who have kids contribute a lot to restaurants. Okay. We go we stress out sometimes being there with our children. So we drink. Sometimes we drink a lot. And sometimes we make a little bit of a mess that I always try to help clean up. And you know what we do sometimes? We tip. Okay. We tip often a lot. I have never tipped the bare minimum when I've been out with my child, because I know that a server, not other people, have, maybe worked a little bit harder to accommodate with, special cutlery or extra maraschino cherries for a Shirley Temple or something like that. So I will always give extra to the establishment that treats us well. And restaurants, a lot of times are kind of suffering. So I think that a lot of times families who go out and still try to go out and have a good time are helping these restaurants stay alive. I mean, imagine what would happen if no people with kids, if no families went out to eat. That would be a bad situation, I think, for a lot of us. Anyways, also the main point is that I want to keep going out to eat, and I don't want to have a fight about it, and I want to sit in a normal place and be a cool person. Thank you so much for listening to this week's episode of Bothered. Reminder, we are now a video podcast in case you're not currently looking at me. Also audio, also a little blog version, juliekimcomedy.com/podcast. Thank you so much to everybody who has written into me. I'm going to write back to every single one of you. If you have any reactions or other stories and experiences that you want to share, please do write to me. bothered@juliekimcomedy.com. Also, please remember to like, subscribe, follow, share, and comment. Oh my God. I'm going to take a break from performing for the summer, and I'm sorry for the US dates that I've recently canceled. I hope to be back soon, but we are going strong with the podcast all summer, and we don't plan to stop. So thank you so much for your support. I really appreciate it. Stay safe.
Living like this, I might lose it.